And the conversation continues with Gilbert Garcia, the Metro columnist, San Antonio Express News, Greg Jefferson, San Antonio Current. This was a big day in the life of City Council. This is the first time I can recall in a long time when two issues of such significance came up before the council on the same day. What did we learn about the council from today's discussion and vote?
Well, I think that they were pretty thoughtful about it. I mean, you had some council members, Ana Sandoval was one, who, I mean, she got very emotional talking about paid sick leave and talking about a friend from her childhood whose mother had to choose between taking care of, a sick child and getting paid that day. And I think you had Shirley Gonzalez talked about how, she came into the council because she was a small business person. She wanted to help small businesses. And as she studied this issue, as she's become a mother, it's turned her around. She's seen it from a different perspective. So they were pretty thoughtful about it. But I think that paid sick leave put them in such a strange position because while you had those council members that I mentioned who supported it on its merits, there were some others who they were making some tough calculations. Well, I'm not happy with this. I don't think this is going to hold up, but I don't want it on the ballot.
Manny Pelaez, whose law firm handles wage and hour cases, as a matter of fact, said that he doesn't think this is legal, but he was voting for it just simply so it could advance to that point.
Right. Yeah, and I think you had among opponents and among some members of council, there's just kind of a bottom line for them that says this is just something that government shouldn't mandate. This should be left, this is benefits policy that should be left to private companies, and it shouldn't be set by government. And, it got to this point because of a very good coalition, like a really effective coalition that supports this, led by, Move Texas and Texas Organizing Project and AFL-CIO. And, really what was feeding this was kind of these larger economic problems we've had of stagnant wages over the last couple of decades. And when you have, when money gets tight because, your pay is not keeping up with inflation, a paid sick day is critical, and it becomes make or break for a household if you don't have it, if you don't have a paid sick policy. So I think that's what was driving this. But that's at odds, with kind of the smaller government mindset.
Yeah, and Greg, Gilbert, I was really kind of impressed in a way with this is not a city council of dilettantes. Right. The fact that these council members had done their homework, I thought some of the arguments, for example, Clayton Perry continued to ask for information from the city government that he was not receiving just about the cost, about how much it was going to cost. I thought Greg Brockhouse was very emotional in talking about we can't say that business owners don't care about their employees. They care very much about their employees, and he rejected that rhetoric. And
he talked about the example of Viola Barrios, because Luis Barrios had spoken a couple of weeks ago on this issue to the council. And he said, when you have a small business like she had in starting a restaurant, I think he said, you count every chip in the bowl, you count every napkin. And so a few days of paid sick time might seem small, but it can be important when you have a shoestring operation and you're trying to get by. I think one thing that was really interesting to me too, when you talk about the council members questioning and asking for more information, is the issue, which I hadn't given much thought to till today, was how this is going to be implemented. And basically, the Metro Health, department is going to be in charge of implementing it and fining businesses who don't comply with this.
And $500 per violation.
Per violation, and there was some discussion of the fact that maybe that department might not really be all that well equipped to deal with these kinds of employment labor sort of infractions.
And one thing that's interesting is that one business owner told me that it isn't the overtime; it's the cost of compliance. You're going to have to hire auditors, you have to hire lawyers, you'll have the government poking around in your books. Making sure you're doing this, answering complaints from potentially disgruntled employees. Greg, have we opened a can of worms with this?
Yeah, I mean, small businesses have to comply with a whole range of government regulations. So most of them are used to dealing with government rules. This will be another one. But yeah, each new rule imposes a new cost. I mean, that's why, like with banking regulations, after the financial crisis in 2009, we had Dodd-Frank, which imposed a lot of new banking rules. Well, I mean, that costs a lot of money. So you're seeing that now being rolled back because of a concerted effort by banks, smaller community banks. Yeah, I mean, small businesses, they run lean, and this is definitely going to be another cost.
And I remember the late Tom Frost giving me an earful about Dodd-Frank at one point.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Greg Jefferson, San Antonio Current, Gilbert Garcia, Metro columnist, San Antonio Express News. Thanks for joining us as the conversation continues.